Good morning, Georgetown and beyond. This is Marilyn Hemingway, and along with my co-host, we're bringing you Spotlight, brought to you by the Georgetown NAACP branch number 5520. We are all still recovering from Hurricane Ian, yes, Ian, and you know, that's a good thing. It didn't get as hard as we could have gotten hit, but we do have some folks out there who are still recovering from the impact of the hurricane. Of course, in our prayers is the state of Florida that was just devastated. We got a lot to talk about, y'all, about the resources and help that we can bring forth to you in light of Hurricane Ian. So if you need some help, we're going to be scrolling our phone number down at the bottom of the screen, and we're going to be talking about what's going on right after this opening.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to put a hand of protection.
Well, we're back, and let me go ahead and bring in my co-host for the day, our President Marvin Neal. Good morning, Marvin. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too, Marilyn. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And our first Vice President, Mr. Deontay Winchester. It's good to see you too, Deontay.
Well, thank you. It's always good to see your pretty face too, Miss Marilyn.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, it's actually a beautiful day. I was talking earlier to a colleague of ours and just telling her it's always beautiful the day after a hurricane. It's like God took a big broom and just swept the sky clean. Because if you look on the ground, though, there's damage, emotional damage. But if you look up at the sky, and I think there's something to be said about it. It's actually a very beautiful day. The temperature is beautiful. But after every hurricane, I remember Hurricane Hugo, where it was just utter devastation. And without electricity for weeks. But now we're here with Hurricane Ian. Is it Ian? I don't know why I said Ian earlier. It's Ian. And we do have some damage, and we're here to talk about it and let folks know that if you have any damage, please call the number at the bottom of the screen, and we can get you to some resources. And if you know someone who has damage, because there's some folks still out there without electricity, so they're not going to be able to watch us. Maybe on their phone, but y'all need to conserve some energy. So don't watch us today, but y'all need to go knock on your neighbor's door, check on your neighbors, check on those folks who still don't have power. Let us know what help they need. Do they need some food, resources? And we will make sure that we get them to the right folks. All right. So Deontay, how was it for you over the last couple of days with the family and everything in the hurricane?
Oh, everything was good. We had no losses, pretty much no effects, no flooding, no anything. So we were very blessed. Definitely praying for everyone else, especially those who are still without light. It's a shame right now that people are still without power. Hopefully, there's no individuals in those households that need medical equipment or anything like that. But we'll be talking later about some resources that could possibly help.
Yeah, I was reading the newspaper, I think down in the Charleston area, 2 people lost their lives because I believe they were on oxygen machines.
Yeah.
And it knocked them out. And unfortunately, they did not survive. So we have had some fatalities from Ian, unfortunately. Marvin, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, not too much, Marilyn. Thank God we did some prepping prior and stuff. At least going around the neighborhood, helping to. There's so many widowers in the community. This is an elderly community where you have people still in the 90s, 100 years old, still living without their husbands and any family members here. So a lot of that stuff is important, before hurricane. Sometimes we lose sight of that, and that's where you come into the situation with oxygen and no generators and stuff of that nature. Me and my brother were just talking this morning. about, we got some generators we use on standby just in case someone needs one because of those situations. We can plug in and get some power to their home, because I have a home generator myself and stuff that comes on when the electricity goes off, but everyone don't have that luxury, but it's worth the investment. But definitely you need to go back even after the storm and check on those loved ones again, because you never know what could happen during the storm. They were fine before the storm, and you could walk away, but still there could be damages that's, critical damages that can be life costing and stuff of that nature. So.
And I'm so glad you brought up our elders. We don't think about them in light of these storms, but that is a very good point. Well, I have elders who live next door to me, my family members, my aunt and uncle, and their daughter is there. But I stayed around just to make sure, because you got to move them and stuff like that, and it takes people, elderly live good lives and all, and they're not moving as fast as they used to. So we got to be really intentional when it comes to our elders and these storms that are coming more frequently because of climate change. And we got to pay attention to that, folks. I do want to share the website for the Southcon Emergency Department. Y'all need to bookmark this on your computers. This is where you can find out preparation for hurricanes, the before, during, and after of hurricanes, and keep up with it, not only on your computer, but on your smartphone. And they'll send text messages and everything also, so you can stay on top of it and also just get in front of the storms. We were actually, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, we really haven't had a major hurricane in about 2 to 3 years. We were
3 years now. Had none last year and the year before. None.
Yeah. And the others that came through, they went to North Carolina. Then we got the aftermath because the water came down, or we got some rain dumps, but we didn't get direct hits. And actually with Hurricane Ian, we were also fortunate because it came in as a Category 1. And if you know Georgetown, and this is why you follow the emergency management department, if a Hurricane 2, Category 2, came through Georgetown up Winyah Bay or a larger, it will wipe out the city. And most people don't realize that. And we are long overdue for a direct hit. Not wishing that at all, folks. This is just fact that, it's been over 100 years since we've had that type of hurricane. And with climate change and everything going on with the environment, this is something we need to be prepared for. And you are right, Marvin. We have a lot of elderly folks in our communities who can't move like they used to. And we got to be proactive in dealing with them before the hurricanes come. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we got on early yesterday on the ground. Some of them still had chairs and stuff in front of their doors, stuff that could just fly into glass windows, and just stuff you just tuck under, or put some bricks on or something of that nature and stuff. And a lot of elderly women. I was counting just on our street. We have more widowers on the street than married couples. It's like 3 to 1, and that's the whole community pretty much. So a lot of death have came to these communities and stuff, and our males, they're dying out, and the others, they're, I guess, doing their younger generation and stuff. A lot of them are just not here because of jobs and stuff of that nature, trying to make a living elsewhere where they can take care of their family.
So not only should we be concerned about the immediate impact of these hurricanes, and we have been fortunate that we haven't had anything major come through in Georgetown in quite a while, but we still need to be proactive and get prepared. But Deontay, I want to talk to you about, because of your expertise and your profession, about the mental health awareness around these natural disasters that we need to be aware of. How do we, one, prepare? Two, when we're in the midst of it? Because last night, after everything calmed down and all of that, I was exhausted. I was physically exhausted because I knew the tension, the anxiety, you're working through it at that moment. But once it went past and you knew, okay, I'm at a point now, let me go get some rest and start all over in the morning with cleanup and everything. Boom, it hit me like, So can you talk about that a little bit? Because we need to. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah, no doubt that in stressful times like these, after a hurricane or any national disaster, individuals may be experiencing symptoms associated with depression, fatigue, as you mentioned, um, overwhelming pessimism, just feeling like nothing is going right for them. Might have trouble concentrating, insomnia, or even sleeping too much, irritability, hopelessness, just a lot of different things that individuals may experience that let you know that something is going on with them, because these are things that are easily identifiable by your loved ones who can see a change in your sleeping pattern, your eating pattern, your behavior, so on and so forth. So if you realize a change in someone that you're close to, please just keep them close. Let them know that you're there for them and encourage them to get help. Let them know that it's okay. And a recent study actually identified, Maryland, that over 50% of people after a natural disaster experience symptoms of PTSD. And I know when
Mm.
we think PTSD, we think soldiers, we think individuals who've been through car accidents and things like that. But a natural disaster is a traumatic experience. And PTSD means post traumatic stress disorder. After the traumatic experience, this is what you're going through. So, um, symptoms of PTSD include getting upset when you think about the experience and the thoughts of the hurricane, or what you may have lost. Um, feeling upset after being reminded of the situation, maybe experiencing avoidance, or trying to avoid the thoughts, feelings, or conversations about it. Um, obviously, increased irritability, um, feeling on edge or tense, and especially worrying that something like that can happen again. So, definitely, if you see individuals experiencing these symptoms, definitely encourage them to get help, because with symptoms of PTSD, suicide rates increase exponentially. So we definitely want to take care of our loved ones, be there for them, check on them, let them know you're there for them, you love them. And if you see any of these red flags or indicators of a mental health concern, definitely encourage them to seek professional help.
So thank you, Deontay. So what about kids? Thank you, P. Laura. She's concerned about her kids' mental health. I know. Are we looking for those same symptoms? And what can we do immediately with children right now, right after the hurricane, to help ease the concerns of our children?
Well, with the kid, the symptoms are going to be similar, but with children, what we see is that they kind of mirror the emotions of the adults that are closest to them. So I find that if we remain calm and we make life seem as close to regular as we can for them, that will make the experience a little bit better for them. So just try as best as you can to make the experience not only close to regular but kind of make it fun. Um if you're experiencing maybe a an experience of having no lights, turn it into a game. Or if you may be unable to cook or anything like that, um, try to make something fun out of finding different things that you can cook and make it a fun game somehow for them. But these are the type of things that we can do. Just try to make the experiences as regular or as routine as we can, because um a lot of kids struggle with things that are rapidly changing and things that are out of their routine, and definitely they feel our emotions and they feed off of the things that we do, the things that we say, in the ways in which we act. So if we're happy and acting the way that we normally do, chances are they'll do the same.
P.
I know
Laura,
that's
yeah,
harder,
P. Laura,
harder,
we're gonna
easier
help
said
her.
than done, but yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. P. Laura, we're going to help you out. I got the phone number. We're going to be calling to encourage them to uh, rush that, getting that electricity back, because that's tough. It's tough just as adults, and I know it's tough
Yeah,
with
that's hard.
kids. Deontay, one thing that I found, I think I learned this probably from my mother, and I don't have kids, but just growing up and dealing with my nieces and nephews, helping with the preparation. As getting your hurricane kit together and involving your kids and explaining it to them, because it gives them a sense of control that I'm part of this. So when it happens, you come like, the kids in their heads are like, we're ready for this because we got ready and we got our little preparation and everything. And you don't think about that, but it helps ease kids. Even beforehand, you're already training them to deal with emergency situations, to be calm about it, because in preparation, you're actually taking some control of the situation as much as you can.
This is what I'll say about that, though. It depends on the child, because in some situations, especially if that child is experiencing some type of anxiety, that might add to the sense of what's going to happen and the nervousness and the worry, especially if they've experienced something like this before. So just be wary and know your child and understand if that's something that would particularly work for them. Every parent knows their own.
But also, Deontay, one thing we have to also be careful of is an unprepared parent creates unprepared situations.
This is true.
So it's no more than orienting someone on the environment that they're about to walk into. You prior servicemen and stuff, and so many things you could do to prepare them for that. So we have to make sure that that we understand as parents what to do. So those hurricane tips and the work that they do at the county level and the emergency management division, it's critical that you pay attention to that during these times. And maybe we are behind the game talking about this now, but hey, the next time will come. So you have to make sure that parent them understand that a lot of time the children act out because of how they're responding to the situation themselves also.
Exactly.
That's anyone. So a prepared leads, that the parent are leaders within their family and stuff. So we have to make sure that they're prepared to, and make sure that they're equipped, and that's what we do on Spotlight, every weekend. Just try to prepare people for what's to come. And, and even the after action, like Pila was just talking about, it triggered my mind. She said, I'm keeping the generator refueled. And see, those are a lot of safety tips that goes with that also. If you're refueling a hot generator, that is just critically dangerous.
Yeah.
You fuel hit that exhaust pipe, you're talking about 1,200 plus degrees. It's going to ignite. So all those things are important that we make sure we use safety tips to deal with all the situations. So and how you utilize and grounding these generators. That's critical. There's just a lot to go with preparation and maintaining during these times. And even you're still trying to maintain our lighting. So, so just hopefully that some things might help her out just in case she wasn't paying attention to that. Anyone else that's on this line, do not refuel a hot generator. Make sure it's cooled down to where you can touch it with your hands, the exhaust pipe. If you can't do that, do not refuel that generator. Critical that you don't.
That's great advice.
Yeah. And also, a lot of people, put them inside the garage, running generators inside the garages and stuff. In the home, some of them in the home, and carbon dioxide positive. It really sets them up for failure. So that's a quiet killer. So these things are critical. A lot of people have done that. And even in Florida this time, folks had generators in their garage and stuff, and in those areas, and it didn't work out too well for them. These are things we can do out there.
And I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because we take these things for granted, and we need to remind people every time. This is why preparation is important, but just experience going through this. It's just letting folks know about generators and just knowing, don't put it in your garage.
Maryland, just
even ventilated. Go ahead.
Even in our community, I have families that I make sure I call them and tell them, don't start that generator until I get there. Because certain places you plug it in and how you plug them in. Certain breakers you have to have off and you bring them in as the load can handle. I'm saying? You only take care of your critical needs area where your refrigerator and stuff like that's at to keep your food and stuff safe. So a generator, most the average one can't handle a household unless you have an in-home generator installed by a company that have really done due diligence to what the house can handle. So, always keep that in mind. Just don't go and plug a generator in and say, I got power, I can watch my television and, play my music and all the stuff like normal again. It don't work that way unless you have an in-home generator, a Generex and those other companies that really come and install those things. So
Yeah.
be careful because
Yeah.
inexperience could be just as deadly as anything.
That's right. And we do talk about that after the hurricane. Watch your generators. And I have a picture here, and I'm going to give props to Johnny Ford on Pawleys Island. He posted a picture on Pettigrew, trees down, and he made a note of saying, watch the power lines. And that's another thing. After a hurricane, people need to pay attention to the power lines. Power lines, more than likely, are still hot and they're electrified. And if there's water around them and you just touch that water, you're going to get electrified too. And don't touch power lines when you see them. Go around, or if you really don't have to travel for today or the next day, stay as close as possible to home, because those power lines out there, they're still trying to get to places to get those power lines up and back up and running and off the ground. So I just wanted to show that picture, and that's just in Pawleys Island. So folks just need to be aware of that also. That you need to be aware of your surroundings after a hurricane, and also for snakes. Y'all, it's depending on where the flooding, because there was flooding. May not have been flooding in your home, but flooding brings snakes out and alligators out. And saw a video earlier today from Florida. The alligator just going down the street, minding his own business, floating where it wasn't supposed to be floating because everything's flooded. And flooding takes a while to go back, especially in Florida, because they really got hit hard. And there was even a video of a shark in the midst of the hurricane, swimming around in the water. We hear about these quote unquote urban myths, and sometimes they're not a myth. If you can't see the bottom of that water, do not step in that water, because there could be an alligator in there, snake, something that you don't see.
Could be a missing manhole cover.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you see water, don't go in it, folks.
Don't go in the water.
Yeah,
and saying that, Marilyn, it takes me back to when you say flooding, to a lot of what we're dealing with right now with environmental and climate change, and and just how we are building into these swamplands where we have challenges right now in communities where flooding is going on because of the drainage system is not properly maintained, or it's so old. It's like another Flint, Michigan. So we have to be so careful of where we put these slab of concrete, because a lot of times, a lot of our flooding is created by during the hurricane is what we do before the hurricane. Every piece of property don't need to be built on, and every piece of land don't need to be filled, where water because that's natural, man-made, God-made drainage, water runoff, the swamp.
Mm-hmm.
But we're building in the swamps now. I ride down 701, man, truckloads of dirt just piling in these swamplands. And after a while, the water's going to have nowhere to go but into your homes, because we are building in the swamps. Come on, if there's not proper, adequate room to build within the comprehensive land use, in certain areas, quit making these exceptions. There's just no room to build. So people have to go somewhere else to live. You understand what I'm saying? So we always overdo things. Then we run back to what we should not have done. So let's dump it on this other area now in the swamps, and that's where it's headed. That's the big challenge right now. One of the big challenges in Georgetown, where they're going to build, and how they are going to do it.
Yeah, we talk about the emergency of nature's hurricane. We need to pay attention to the man-made hurricane of overdevelopment, gentrification, filling in the wetlands and swamps. I actually, in my neighborhood, am living with that now, and it's not actually filling in, but a company that cut down the trees in the wetlands in front of our neighborhood, And ever since then, we've been having flooding issues. We know we've had 2 sinkholes. We've had more water in places it didn't go before, because when he cut down the trees and took everything out, he messed with nature's natural drainage system. That's what wetlands are. And
Yep.
it was a designated wetlands. It was designated wetlands. So I'm not going to go into details. He was fined and stuff. We're still dealing with the impact of that in this neighborhood. And we saw it yesterday during the storm, where we could see the water was rising. It didn't get in anyone's houses, but this didn't happen before the trees were cut, because the trees were doing their job. Trees draw up the water, and the wetlands allow the water to drain. That's nature's drainage. Wetlands are nature's drainage system. And when you fill them up or you mess with them, cutting the trees down, you change in the landscape. And that's a slow moving hurricane that we don't pay attention to because it's so slow moving. You know, when they change the ordinances or let people fill in land, it's just we tend to shrug it off because it's just, oh, we've normalized it, and we don't need to normalize that.
You know, and I was just speaking of that, Marilyn, I was just talking to Wesley Gibson on yesterday, and about the impact, you know, of what you just said, and talk about people passing these ordinances. But also what you're looking at is, who are you putting in these positions now? You know, you have people coming into your community, making decisions on it, that's been there only 3 or 4 years, long enough to get their foot wet to buy a home. And now they're in position making decisions on your community. You know what I'm saying? It's critical that we look at these things and make sure that, you know, we are making good decisions as voters, who we put in these positions. Because because now it's at the point now within the city of Georgetown where the voters are so discouraged because they don't have a voice anymore at the city council meeting, unless you want to sit there for 3 hours, you know, to hear your voice. But check out what happens. They're speaking after the decision is made. Mm-hmm. After the decision is made, they get to say something.
Yeah.
So it's just pretty much a waste, you know. So that's the importance. And be careful who we grab hold to say, oh, they're working with us, getting us in our community. Believe me, no one gives you nothing free. And if they're working with you, that's not an option for politicians. The question is, what are you doing for them? What are you doing for them? And be careful with that, because a lot of times we just not paying attention. And when it comes back around, it's to remember when I did for you. No, those things are necessary. Quit making these promissory notes to politicians. You don't have to make a promissory note to politicians. You vote for them. If they don't do the job, you vote them out. You know, I see, you know, the city going around the county and trying to do things in county presidents and stuff, where county's supposed to be making decisions. Now the city's trying to make decisions, parks and everything else. So people better be careful, you know. And these are organizations within the Black community that has to definitely be careful, because before you know it, they'll be done take over your organization also.
That's right. And you may have a price that you cannot pay when it comes due. So you better be very careful who you're dealing with. Exactly. You're so right. It's so important that we vote November 8th, because not only the immediate hurricanes like a Hurricane Ian, but the slow moving hurricane of gentrification laws and ordinances. And we really need to pay attention. And we do understand that people are here. You're just trying to survive. You're just trying to get those bills paid. And that's why you have to be discerning about your leadership, the ones that are trying to give you information so that you can make good decisions, because we realize everybody doesn't have time to go get the information, or you don't have the means to go get the information. But we're out here, the NAACP and other organizations, the Gotta Get Your Chamber, out here trying to do the work to keep people informed about what's going on in our community. I see you nodding your head, Deontay. Any thoughts from you?
You know, I just see, and I want to be careful the way I say this. I see so much divisiveness in our community nowadays. And I feel like individuals purposely insert themselves in situations to divide us so that others can conquer. And it just feels like if we, and we hear this all the time, we need to come together. Come together under what goal? When we come together, we need to be working towards a common goal of bringing people together to work for all people. Don't come to me about this let's come together stuff only when it fits your agenda. Let's come together for a common purpose to work for all of the people. And let's put all of this divisiveness and this foolishness and this talking about each other behind us, because it does nothing but hurt the community at large, and it does nothing but make you look ridiculous as an individual.
You know, Deontay, I agree with you. You and I have had these conversations. People unify around purpose. But P. Lord, thank you for your note that yes, it is our responsibility to hold our elected officials accountable also. That's part of it. That's part of having purpose. That's part of having a goal. You will hold people accountable if you have a purpose to unify around, because you're trying to work towards that purpose. You're trying to work towards that goal. And that means holding our elected officials accountable. And that means going out and voting. And, you know, I just saw something on TikTok and I didn't download it because I don't know how that copyright thing works sometimes with TikTok. But he was talking about how he will post things about blacks and politics and stuff. And it's, without a doubt, someone will come on who's white, who will say, has to explain how racist the Democratic Party is. And his argument today, and he was hard about it, was what white people who do that do, or not non-white people do it too, don't realize by and large, black folks know the history of the Democratic Party. Black folks know the history of the Republican Party. We already know. We already know. And we talk about it, whether it's in the barbershops, beauty shops, under the tree, in church. We have conversations. We know. We actually know more about white people than white people know about themselves. You know, that's time and time again in history. Women know more about men in a patriarchal society because a patriarchal society represses women. So the repressed person actually knows more about the oppressor, because you got to survive. And to survive, you got to know the oppressor and how you maneuver and everything. So he was just talking about how folks are coming into, well, the Democratic Party was racist, da 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 da. Well, guess what? Yeah, they were racist, and they still racist. And the Republican Party, you blatantly racist. Okay, both parties, the two-party system is actually not good for black folks. You know, but I say this to say, black folks have always played a chess game with our vote. We are strategists. Too many of us have lost sight of that, or just never even knew. But we've always been strategic with our vote. There are many white politicians who were politicians and won because black people calculated that it's better to vote for you. We're going to vote for this white person because that's who we can work with. Go ahead, Marvin.
But, you know, if you look at, you know, what you're just saying, Marilyn, you know, we always understand, you know, what we are doing at the time and stuff. And even during history have shown us that, you know, I heard Roland Martin talking this morning about, you know, how we are so caught up between parties. We can't see, you know, the light of day, you know, and what he was talking about. We have to look at what we are voting for and get away from the party line stuff. And you'll see how to vote. The key is knowing the platform and educating people on what they are voting for. But we get caught up into now, you know, the who's, not why we are voting, but who we are voting for. And that is dangerous at times because we close our ears after a while when they start talking. If I'm looking at someone that I know, sometimes my ear will numb to them because I hear them all the time. I was, oh yeah, they for me because they are this or they are that. We got to be careful with that, and it's because right is not a color thing. Right and wrong is not colored. So we have to be careful with that. And he was also talking about how important it is for us to hear our politicians, not just talk to them, hear them. You got to listen to them. And I keep going back to Tom Rice when he was in office. And Maryland, I think he was in there. He would rather pay $7.25 an hour and keep it there because it keeps the Mexicans from coming into America. But he's not thinking about the folks that live in America. You see what I'm saying? It's just so sad that we have politicians like that. And more than that, someone replaced him worse than what he is. You see what I'm saying? So it's so important that we hear these folks and vote in the right direction. And yeah, every vote matters. Every vote matter. If you don't think every vote matter, just reflect back on the last city election, look at the one to come, and you will know why every vote matter. It's a choice now who you put in office because the playing field is level. We just got to make sure we get out and vote. We got to get out and vote. And he's also talking about the critical race theory. And this one lady out of Florida says she don't see, where she said she don't see racism. Someone that looks like me, she don't see racism in Florida. I had to ask, did DeSantis left? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's the things that we just not paying attention to. And they will elect that guy again. If you're not careful, and you elect people by not only whether you vote, if you don't vote, you elect them.
I also saw, obviously I like TikTok. I'm on TikTok and I do a lot of listening. And I noticed for myself, because I've been saying this, I've realized this for a while. In systems, and racism is a system. It's part, our institutions, systemic institution. The repressed are some of the biggest cheerleaders for the system that oppresses them.
Yeah.
And that you're talking about the woman in Florida. I'm not surprised because you're dealing with trauma.
She's normalized.
Yeah. Deontay talks about PTSD. PTSD also becomes generational trauma.
Yeah.
And then you have these systems in place. And for you to deal with the systems, you uphold the oppressor, because if I just give him or her just a little bit, it eases my burden just a little bit. And you may not even think about it like that, but that's what it's doing. That's where it's coming from. I just need a little rest on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go and say, can I have Sunday off? When you can have Saturday and Sunday off because that's the law. But you're not, because you're so traumatized, you don't see the opportunities. You don't see where you can maneuver as a free person, a free will. And that's what's happening. And had a gentleman, and he happened to be white, this gentleman on TikTok, and he's a counselor therapist, and he was laying it down, and he was just talking about, you could see it in repressed people, women. I think he was talking about women in particular, but the whole time he was talking, I was thinking about the Black community, how many of us uphold the oppressor because we think you think you're sitting at the table dealing with the oppressor on an equal plane, and you're not. They're going to give you just enough to give you ease, but not enough to give you freedom.
A lot of times when we're not careful, we can become the defenders of the very system that's oppressing us.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you mess around and end up at these interview tables being the one to say no to someone that looks just like you, that's well qualified for the job, but you don't see a problem with that. Because you have been I don't want to say brainwashed, but
No,
you're at
I
a point
don't
where
actually
you
think
don't
it's
even
brainwash. I
realize
think
that
it's
you're being
trauma.
used.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's scary, and I see it all the time, Deontay, when we sit, especially in the education arena, and in government. It's so systematic design. Even it's like the chosen few that sits in there that will turn their head to it because they're so fear of losing their minute offering that they receive to sell off the whole generation
Yeah.
of folks that's deserving of such. It's sad when you could sit back and look at a whole one side of the county, one side of Georgetown County School District, one black in 4 schools that a child, I guess they have to pass her around from school to school. That's an assistant principal. One black. And the community is not in uproar about it. One black. Children are, just going through trauma in those schools. And it's the Walkmore schools. Black children is going through trauma. And you can fool yourself if you want to, because they are. Because they call me all the time, the parent. And as soon as I say, what are you going to do? It's not what we're going to do. What are you going to do about it? Do you know what the answer usually is, Marilyn? I don't want to say anything because so-and-so works at the school district. Well, I don't want to say anything because, they're going to do the same thing. Imagine if Harry Tubman, per se, I'm not going to do anything because the same thing going to happen. Dr. King, we're not going back. John Lewis, we're not going back because, you know what I'm saying? No, you have to go back and go back. And you got to face the oppressors. Because what the problem is, we conform to it, and we become a part of the system that they have built to destroy us. And they start with our educational component. It all starts with education.
Not only do you become a part of it, as Deontay said, you start defending it. Some of the strongest defenders are the ones who being repressed and oppressed. But it comes down to yep.
I call them house Negroes, but many people call them the gatekeepers.
Yeah. Both.
And we elect them even on the school boards. Yeah. We talk about schools right now, but we elect them on the school board. That's the stuff we have to be careful with. When the school board members start defending racism, that they can bluntly look at and say, yeah, that's racism, but it's always a but.
Yeah.
It's always a but. You reverse the process, then it's a problem. But long as it's going that way, we are used to being treated that way. So we have not only been normalized by it, we elect people that's been normalized with the same system.
So the question becomes, we can sit here and say what we're saying. And I know I'm answering this so we can put it out here. I'm asking, what is it that we do to start breaking this trauma cycle? What is it? And I keep going back to mental health, which in the Black community, we don't like talking about. We tell people, go to church, let's pray on it. But it's deeper than that. People need help, mental health, and because we don't even recognize it as a mental health thing, because we've been raised, you take it to the church, you pray on it, and we've been raised where there's some shame put on it. Let's just be honest, that if you speak of trauma, that people will attack you for it. I see it through the church a lot, through our families. Let's just call it for what it is. When we tell people to conform, now we don't go around saying you have to conform. What we do is we stifle people's dreams. If they want to do something that's not in what we perceive to be the norm, or it's not Black. Yeah. And we'll say, oh, that's not Black. Why are you doing that? Why you want to be an anthropologist? Black people aren't anthropologists. That's coming from trauma. You know what I'm saying? Black people don't go to psychiatrists. That ain't Black. And all we're doing is perpetuating this trauma, and it results on a societal level, everything we just talked about. where we
Yep.
become the oppressors and we don't even see it. How do you deal with it? Because it's a mental health issue.
Yeah. Like you said, I think a lot of it starts from the upbringing. As a community, and you alluded to this, we think that everything can be fixed by going to church. And I say often that you can't pray away a mental illness. I'm not telling you not to go to church. I'm not devaluing anyone's preacher. But what I'm saying is get your spirit right and get your mind right. Prayer will get rid of the demons, but it takes therapy, professional help to get rid of the damage. You need both. And I think when we get to a point where it's no longer stigmatized, and conversely, we have individuals in the community that will encourage you to seek professional help, that's when we will start to make positive change. Because right now, still to this day, I see young children who come see me and they want to hide the fact that they're getting mental health treatment because they feel like they'll be teased in school, because they've been teased before, because they have to take this certain medication. And that's a shame. It starts from a very young age and it starts from the household. Make mental health services not stigmatized. Make it something that is just as routine as going to the physician. If you have a toothache, you ain't gonna go to the pastor and tell him to pray for your mouth. You're gonna go to the dentist. So when you have something that's going on with you psychologically, there should be no ifs, ands, or buts. You go see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or a therapist. Just that simple.
And Deontay, also one thing, and I've always noticed, we are so quick to put our children on on meds. When they say, well, they're going through some things, no one ever evaluates. We don't evaluate the situation properly. We have took medicine and replaced time with our children.
Yeah.
Medicine replaced time because we put them in almost a comatose state. Where they just settle down. That's what medicine does. But a lot of times, that's just time that a child is acting out for their mother, their father, or whoever. But they're acting out for attention, but it ain't the attention to put medicine in them. It's the attention to spend time with them. A lot of our challenges, it comes from bad medical practices and bad parenting and not recognizing what the problem is. It's not that the child has a problem. It's those who's raising them have a problem.
Yeah.
They're not giving them the time that they need. So we put them on medicine. So, he's ADD or whatever. It's just crazy. So we never had that stuff when we was growing up, Maryland. We had time.
Well, I will say this, that we have traumatized people raising traumatized people.
Yeah.
And I tell people this, and I sound like a conservative saying it, but I'm not a conservative. Maryland is not, but we lost Deontay again, but he'll come back in. We've have a couple of generations of children raising children, and I hate to say that, and they were traumatized at some point in their lives as children, and I'm just gonna say it. We've had too many people like when I was growing up, and I was reading something early this morning because I was trying to relax and do a lot of reading, and how a woman was being attacked because she has stated her experiences in the church. And I had many of those same experiences. I cannot tell you how many deacons alluded to me about sex or my body, not only as a child, but as an adult. I cannot tell you. I had a minister's wife call me one day and berate me as a single woman because a couple was having marital problems way on the other side of town. We all went to the same church. And the husband threw my name into the conversation. I'll just go across town. I had no clue this was happening. But the minister's wife took it upon herself to call me and berate me I need to hurry up and find a man and get married. I had a minister have his deacon call me to set up the first date. Because he saw me in church one day. I went to visit a church, has a Democratic Party chair, and he had the deacon call me to set up the first date. Of course, red flag. I said, no, never went on. That never happened. So I'm just giving personal examples of the trauma we place upon our community, individuals within the community. Magnify that on a community level. This is real stuff. Me hearing stories or knowing of 10, 13-year-olds being put out of the house by their mothers because they got pregnant by the boyfriend. Mm-hmm. This ain't fantasy. This is real stuff going on. We've got traumatized adults dealing with children and other adults. And until we deal with that stuff on an individual level, we're going to have problems in our community because it's magnified upon the community. And I know this because of my personal journey, and y'all heard it yourself. For me to be where I'm at now, to be a community leader, to me embrace it, to start all the organizations I started, I went to therapy. And I've been going to therapy since my early 20s because I know I suffer from depression. So I've been going to therapy off and on. But for me to make a change in my life, I had to get on a healthier journey for me to be a healthy person for my community. Mm-hmm. And so many of us need to do that. So many of us are not even aware that we need to do that. We are just surviving mentally and emotionally and physically. Physically going to these jobs that are wearing us down, multiple jobs because we just trying to get past. But emotionally and mentally, because we just beat down. Let's just be real. We beat down emotionally and mentally and don't know the resources that we could tap into, that we need to get healthy as individuals to help be a part of creating healthy communities. Hurricane Ian is just an immediate natural phenomenon that reveals trauma. Yeah. But we have a slow moving hurricane in the Black community of trauma, apathy, mental health that we are not dealing with. So it is hard for us to get up and go to county council or city council meetings to deal with issues when we ain't deal with our own personal issues. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what we have to do. Go ahead.
But you know, everything in a nutshell, you have broken people trying to fix broken people.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
It don't work. It don't work.
It's never going to work. And listen, personally seeking grief counseling for my children. And that's right. Do that.
That's a smart move. And you know what? And I always watch Pilo with her children. She keeps them in positive things for healthy growth. It's always the Girl Scouts or 4-H club, and she always reaching out. But every parent don't do that. You know what I'm saying? They don't do that. But in order to grow healthy children, you got to recognize what they need is to grow healthy. You know, when I was growing up, my father, you have to be in the Boy Scout, 4-H club, all those things was just automatic. Those are natural. You know what I'm saying? You didn't talk about the things that's going to keep you down. You talk about the things that's going to lift you up. You recognize the things that's going to keep you down. But the things that's going to lift you up, that's where you go. And he kept us in that. And we didn't ask questions about it. It just became a norm that you're going to go through these things. We know we have to go to college or military. You go to military, you're going back to college, you're going to survive. So all those things are just an infrastructure for life to help you grow healthy. And once you get there, you'll recognize what it takes to keep you healthy enough to lead. Because you can't lead if you're broken.
That's right. And it's not, when we say broken people can't help broken people, even when you're on your journey and you see that path, you're still dealing with it.
Yep.
Because no one's perfect. None of us leaving this earth perfect. But what you're doing is you're dealing with it. You're not ignoring it. You're not putting it to the side. You're not just forcing yourself to get through. You're dealing with it. But you deal it with all your imperfections. Mm-hmm. in there. That's the freedom. When you recognize that I can get up, even my imperfect self can get up in the morning and do what needs to be done and do it with peace of mind. I can go to counseling and do it with peace of mind. That is freedom.
That's the best freedom you could have, Marilyn. And I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
tell you,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of our challenges are we allow broken people to beat us down when we recognize the brokenness. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'll hear you one time, but the second time, I'll keep it moving. You know, Facebook and all that social media stuff, I'll read it one time. But if I know that's just coming from a side of brokenness that I can't fix, I move on. I'd wipe them off of Facebook. I don't have to listen to that. We have to choose the space and command our own space that we walk in, that we live in every day. You could choose and command that. I don't care what nobody says. You could choose and command that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People come to you and say, "Did you heard about what so and so said about you?" I hear them. I said, my usual response is, "I don't care, and I don't want to know, and I don't even reach back and try to find out. I just don't. I really just don't care because I know who they're talking about. They're broken, and broken people can't fix me. I got enough to deal with myself. I don't need their brokenness on me. I can't fix them. So I move on, Marilyn. I hear people and I move on. This, you're not going to do anything about this. No, you don't. I don't have to do anything about that. I can't do anything about that because I'm not the expert in that. They need to call Deontay or somebody in the counseling or that's not where I'm at. You know, so we have to recognize broken people and know that they're broken. And once you figure that out, you move on. Because I don't put nobody in my space. I command my space. I commanded and always did. But you have to recognize what's going on within your space. What don't fit in there, you move it out. You make choices like friends and everything. You make choices. Your social structure, you make choices. Certain people I don't even go around because I know what's going to come out. I don't go around negative people. All you hear is negative behavior. You know, negative thoughts. You know, going nowhere. Same old cat chasing his tail. You know, I don't have time for that. I just don't have the space for it. It's just I'm just numb to that kind of stuff, man. It's like a water off a duck bag. Keep it moving.
And the more you do that, the better you get at it.
Oh man, you get so good at it, Marilyn.
Practice. Y'all, people, I can't do that. Do it one time. Do it the second time. Do it the third time. Because one time, it's going to be hard, y'all, because we've been trained to take on trauma. We've been trained to deal with broken people, you know? And a friend of mine just sent me a thing, grateful, because all the way down in Florida, my sorority sister checking on me, saying, "Meryl, any help you need after Ian?" Now she in Florida now, y'all. She was in part of Florida, didn't get really hit bad by Ian. Checking on me, and she just texted me, grateful. That's gratefulness, is when you release, like you just saying, you know, on social media, I've been attacked. And I've had to block people and let it go. Yeah, and I had to it got to me recently because I'm doing certain things that I was concerned about the attack. But I recognize where it's coming from. Broken people, a broken person attacking. But I don't have time. When you are on your path, your journey, when you are pursuing your purpose, you will be amazed what falls away. Foolishness will fall away. Don't pursue it when it falls away, y'all. You know, you may look over there and say, "I hope they're okay," and keep it moving.
Yeah.
Because when it all comes down to it, we are all responsible for our time on this earth. And it's a short time. So you better make the best of it. And whatever your journey is, if you are on your journey, you will respect other people's journeys. Because you recognize, well, I don't have time to dibble dabble in your journey because I got my journey. And sometimes those journeys intertwine and they break off and they intertwine. And some of them stay for a life, some of them don't. But if you are on that healthy journey, the bad will peel itself away, or you will recognize it and then throw it away. And then those who mean good will be attracted to you because you're doing good. You're on a journey, you know. and that good mental health space. And I'm not saying you ain't gonna have bad days, because we're human. And as I tell people, especially in my diversity thing, I cannot see your humanity if I can't see my own humanity. I can't give you grace if I don't give myself grace. And that's recognizing all of our imperfections and waking up anyway. It's recognizing our humanity makes us imperfect, but getting up and going out and doing what you need to do anyway. That's what seeing humanity is about. That's what having grace is about.
You know, Roland Martin talked about that this morning, grace. And he was talking about the it was Cory Booker and Tim Scott was working on the Polish reform bill. And Tim Scott just kept throwing in the simple stuff, you know, and Cory Booker kept biting on it and got him totally off track, and talked about why the bill did not go through, because he let Tim Scott got him off track of what his purpose was there from the beginning. Get to push the bill through. Don't talk about your sympathy of your friend Tim and all this other stuff. All that's irrelevant. So we have to understand what is relevant. You know what I'm saying? Within the context of where we're trying to go and the objective we're trying to reach. I took a class in Ebony's place the other day with SV's Thrive. It's self-care class. And let me tell you something. That class was so on point. It really makes you reevaluate yourself and situations. You know, and I tell you, I enjoyed it so much. I'm going to take the next one too, every time, stuff, because it helps you declutter. And I sat there and I just decluttered Maryland again and kept it moving. Kick a load off and kept it moving. Because sometimes we could carry somebody else's junk without knowing it. Carry the junk without knowing it. Here you is focusing on somebody else's junk that means nothing to you. Really, it's not even healthy for them. Now you carrying it, it makes it unhealthy for you. Get rid of the junk. Whatever it is, whoever junk it is, get rid of it. It's all right. Because at the end of the day, it meant nothing anyhow, but to distract. So, you know, and that lady was off the chain. I think her name was, she was one of the outreach directors of SC Drive. But, did a great job with the training and stuff. Had about 15 people. Great training. You know, I like going to stuff like that anyhow, where I can learn something new and see different things. Like even the girl to get you the environmental conference coming up. I'm looking forward to that. There's things it's not out of my playing field, because I understand environmental and that nature. But it's the things that the expert brings to the table, like Tim Chapman and those and gardening and stuff, you know. For something that I just don't know about gardening and stuff. You know, different ways to handle it. Gianni, you know, in the gardening he does in Polly's Island. You know, just different ways. Hemp, you know, growing hemp and stuff. It's just so much that we don't know.
Mm-hmm. Or Zenobia in her garden.
Oh yeah.
And her, you know, just what she has in there. Yeah. It's just beautiful and just yeah.
From the Guller perspective. Mm-hmm. She focused on the Guller perspective of gardening,
which impacts so much in the United States.
Yeah. Now, but you know what? So many people have really branched off from that, from Zenobia and her gardening and Tim Chapman and those. But a lot of times they might look at it, well, I'm not impacting anyone, but they are impacting, because people go away trying to do those things and have to come back to learn. It's just like discoveries. Why do you think Black people are so important here in America? Because everything came out of a condition that you wanted to make it better. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because we were the one doing the work. So we made the work better for us by discoveries and inventions. And that's why we lose sight so much of what our value is economically. It's huge. It's huge. You know, and I can't wait to get there. I'll be there on the 15th. You know,
Thank you.
And I already signed up. I hope
Y'all
a lot
come
of
on out here.
people.
Y'all come on out for the Gullah Geechee Environmental and Energy Conference. The NAACP is one of our sponsors and supporters. You can register at Eventbrite. Take a snapshot really fast, or go to the Gullah Geechee Chamber Facebook page and you can register from there, or to the Gullah Geechee Foundation website, GullahGeecheeFoundation.org website, and register from there. There'll be a complimentary lunch with the keynote speaker, Reverend Leo Woodbury. He is huge in the environmental movement.
Huge.
And come have a taste of Gullah lunch with us. And babysitting. If you have children and you need babysitting services that day to come, we're going to have babysitting services for the kids. There'll be activities, healthy activities and everything for the kids to do while you're learning. We're trying to lower the barriers to getting information. So last year we gave gas cards. This year we're doing the babysitting services. And also always we try to do a complimentary lunch. We tried to hold it to 150 persons. So come on and get registered, because people are registered, get your spot. And yes, it is free, folks. So go ahead and get registered 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks. So I got to wrap some stuff up on Monday. I realized today, oh my gosh, it's 2 weeks from now. And next year we're going to be in Brunswick, Georgia. They're excited that we're coming to Brunswick, Georgia. So y'all come on. Georgetown's where it started, and we're going to. I'm trying to decide if I bring this back every 2 years to Georgetown, and then go to a different state. So, just bring it back home. And what I did decide with this conference, Marvin, is not to go to the big cities. Bring it to like medium, small towns where usually people can't get to the stuff in the big cities. For various reasons. Bring it to where the people are who really need the information, and also who are part of the solution.
Because the big city would come to Georgetown, but Georgetown's not going to the big city.
That's right. People don't realize how much transportation is an issue. Yeah. You may not even have a car, and if you do, then gas prices may be an issue, or you may need to get some work on your car and can't afford to drive just to Charleston because your car might break down or something. And those of us who can, I had a flat tire this week, and I had to get a new tire. It took it out, and a nail took it out. And I was blessed to be able to do that. But there are many who just can't do that. So we're bringing information to the folks where they are when we can. So y'all just go ahead and get registered for the Gullah Geechee Environmental Conference taking place in person in Georgetown. And also you can watch it virtually, but if you come in person, you get a free lunch and babysitting services. All right. So those, go ahead, Marvin.
There's a couple other announcements, Marilyn. The NAACP convention is also starting on the 6th through the 8th of October in Columbia. You go to our NAACP Facebook page and website, and you will get all the information on registration and hotel. That's going to be an awesome conference this year. And I went to the National in Atlantic City, and I think that is the best conference I've ever been to, Maryland. Well, there was just so much information you couldn't get it all, and it was pretty much a whole week, but I still couldn't get it all. So it tells you the information that's available out there just through the NAACP. Just go to the website, because we collaborate with the League of Women Voters and all the different organizations. We collaborate even locally here. Club 142, League of Women Voters, Howard Alumni, Gullah Geechee Chamber, whoever. We collaborate with those we come together with the same mindset to make sure we put out good information and have a healthy community. Because I tell you, without a healthy community, we will suffer. We have to be careful with that. Also, there is on the 15th of this month, 7th District Community Cleanup. It was supposed to be today, but the storm canceled that. But that cleanup will be on the 15th of October. Which is 2 weeks from now. So I'm glad it's on the 15th, because that leaves. But the Gullah Geechee conference is on the 15th too. I'll be at the Gullah Geechee conference. I do my cleanup and stuff before it starts. I do it the day before. But let's make sure that we get out and do these things. The voters registration rally. NAACP and the League of Women Voters again. That's on the 29th of October. And that's just to get people out to vote. It's a
talent show
and contest. And the MC is Cleveland Milton. And I think Brittany Gibson are those who are putting it together and stuff. I mean, great mind, great show. I mean, it's really coming together strong. They have dope prizes, not dope prizes. They are giving away $500 to the top talent, $200, and I think it's another $100. Also giving away some other gift certificates at the doors for drawings at the door. So those are huge. And what we're trying to do is get people out and in the mood to vote and vote early. Because those that come in with our voters registration, say I voted sticker, they get in free. All that's important. So the more people we get out to vote early, let's get it in the bank and let's move on. Because voting starts on the 24th.
So go vote early, get your sticker, and bring your sticker to the talent show and get in free on October 29th. It's going to be at Howard, and it's going to be a talent show. So y'all come on out and encouraging folks to vote and vote November 8th, y'all. It's important. Democracy, and I know somebody gonna go back. Marilyn Hemingway said Democratic Party racist. I actually said both of the parties are racist. So get it straight when you go back to tell. All right. I call both of them got problems. All right. But blacks have always voted strategically, and we need to understand why. And let's go vote November 8th. You play the chess game, folks. Play the chess game. But that takes getting educated, motivated, and activated. And we've always talked about that. Get educated, motivated, and activated. All right.
And all right. Start our, also remember to reach out to the 7 Dimensions, especially in times like this for snaps and food and Pampers and stuff of that nature. Also, just call the 843-790-4075 number. We also still be doing housing assistance at the 7 Dimensions, 1001 Church Street. They're having some issues right now with water. But we'll be picking up again next week, Wednesday. So make sure you go on Facebook because we'll be going to another community again next week, which will be King Street again. So, but we also still be in Georgetown at 1001 Church Street.
Front Street.
1001 Front Street.
Front Street.
Make sure you come out and get the support and service that you need and stuff that's available. The NAACP partnering with the United Way and 7 Dimensions. Thank you.
So if y'all need resources after Hurricane Ian, food, diapers, etc., please call the number at the bottom of the screen, 843-790-4075. 843-790-4075. And also that number is, yes, it's still available for housing assistance. We hope to see everybody at all the events that we've introduced today, and we'll remind you again next Saturday at 11 a.m. on Spotlight, brought to you by the Georgetown NAACP branch number 5520. I got to head on out, Marvin, to get some stuff straight, make some phone calls about my house.
Yeah, I got to go rake some yard. I got branches all over my yard.
Yeah, our neighborhood. Right, and remember, that's compost, folks. Organic materials, that's compost. You can actually put it something that it'll break down and create soil. So actually in my yard, I have my spot that I'm trying to build back up. So I put all my organic matter in there. So just remember, y'all, that's actually helping us too. All right.
Check the elderlies in your community. Look out for safety, for generator and stuff like that. Check those folks, especially those a lot of the widows in the community. Make sure they get some help and get straightened out with their property after this hurricane and stuff. Help your neighbor.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us today at Spotlight, brought to you by the Georgetown NAACP every Saturday at 11 a.m. See you later, Marvin.
See you, Marilyn. Take care. Be safe.